Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Gar and Fork Radio. It's, I forgot what to say now. Oh, it's me, Eric, and my friends talking about what we hope are interesting things. Today we have Nicole and her brother Montana here. We're going to talk about building cargo bikes. Welcome, Montana.
Hello.
Hello, Nicole.
I'm so excited to have my brother on the podcast.
Yeah, this will be great. It's a three-person podcast, and it'll be nice because I'm just going to kind of sit back and interject. I'm very curious about the cargo bike. Do we want to start with that?
Yeah, let's just start with that. So
Okay.
Everybody knows that I'm huge into the cargo bike thing and the family biking. And not surprisingly, so is Montana. So taking it like the next step, instead of buying his cargo bike. Well, you did buy a cargo bike at first.
Yeah, we had a cargo bike. We had like a what's it called? Like a Yuba.
The Yuba.
Yeah.
You had the Yuba Mundo that was not electrified.
No, but then we electrified it because we live in Seattle.
Yeah, and there's hills.
Yeah, serious hills.
And you electrified it yourself.
Yeah, that was pretty easy. You could get this thing called a hill topper. I think they still make it, but it's just like a motor that goes on the front. And
I've
any
seen
bike
that.
can, it's great for any bike. Like it's the easiest way to electrify a bike.
Yeah, you tell them what model of bike you have. They send you the wheel and a cable that goes up to your handlebars with a battery pack that goes on your handlebars, and you have an e-bike.
Yeah, ours was like a earlier generation, had more of like a bolt-on battery, but I think those ones are even easier now because you can just drop it in a basket and you're good to go. And it's
one of my neighbors has one. It works quite well.
Yeah, and it was like cheap. It was, I think back then it was like, this was 8 years ago. It was like $400, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And so we rode that while the kids were small, and then, well, they kind of get bigger, and so that was fine. They they start riding on their own, and then the pandemic came, and I was watching YouTube University, as everyone does, and there's this maker on there called Phil Fandelay, and he's in Europe somewhere. I can't remember the exact country, but he had posted a video of making your own cargo bike. And I was like, wow, I've always wanted to learn how to weld. And his cargo bike is special. So there's different kinds of cargo bikes that like where you hold the cargo is kind of the differences. And the cargo bike he made is called a back feet. And it's where the cargo is in the front and kind of down low and really stable. And so that's kind of what like lit me on it. And number one, because it was stable. Number two, it was faster than the way I was doing things in the past. And number three, I could carry my dog in it, which is like the main reason I wanted to build this. I'd started planning it before the pandemic came, but I ride to work every day with my dog. He comes with me, and I'm a software engineer, so he just sits there with me and people pet him. But every day he comes with me, and I was like, I need something to carry him to work faster than a trailer. And so, yeah, I started building this bike out.
So the gentleman that you were watching on YouTube, did he have like a set of plans that you could download, or? Yeah,
that was the great part is he had some plans, and he's like, he kind of was very friendly about it. And, he's like, if you buy the plans, just feel free to ask me questions, and I think they were like $20 for the plans.
Yeah, they were cheap.
They were cheap, and he was super friendly. He's a great guy. And the plans were easy to follow. He's like, you can totally do this in your garage. He's like, the first one I built in my kitchen with like a stick welder. So like anyone can do this. So it was very appealing. And so I kind of decided to go for it and bought all the steel. Kind of the weirdest part was converting the metric to US units for steel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Where did you buy the steel?
There's these like online steel shops. Like it's like onlinemetals.com, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
There's actually a warehouse in Seattle, so that was kind of cheap. But so yeah, you can buy metal online, and they'll cut it to length and send it to you. That's what I did to kind of get the raw materials, and then I built up a frame jig, which is kind of necessary to get everything aligned right. And it's called 80-20 aluminum extrusion, and it's just it's what they use to build up 3D printers and like rigging for. Like movie sets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's very easy to set up and remove and change. It's a couple of twists of a screw and you can like move things around, but it's very dimensionally accurate. So you can kind of set it up exactly how you want it and measure everything out. And that's what lets you succeed in building a bike frame that rides straight as you kind of get everything squared up.
That's
so I built
important.
it up. Yeah, it was like that was probably the hardest part, is just making sure everything was cut well and fit well before I even started welding. Yeah.
So let's back up. So we were talking about TIG welding and stick welding. I often talk about MIG and flux core welding on the show. So, and you had never tried welding it before, but I'm guessing you went to YouTube University again?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I'd never really welded before. I think I had a stick welder for like fixing a couple of metal things, like my mailbox or something, but I sucked at it. And so I went to YouTube and, dropped down the rabbit hole of welding videos on YouTube, which there is an endless supply of. And I learned how to TIG weld. And, you get to see all the makers on YouTube and like every opinion they have. And they were actually really helpful about like what to buy. So I bought like a cheap Chinese $200 welder that does TIG. And I taught myself, and it was very rough in the beginning. TIG is not easy. You have to be very calm. And I almost relate it to like meditation, is how calm you have to be, because you're working in like a few millimeters of area. It's very different than stick welding or MIG welding.
So let's back up, everyone. So when we talk about stick welding, you might also think about arc welding. If you're walking down a sidewalk and you see some guys like welding a roll down gate in front of a store or something, and you see this big spark, that is stick welding or arc welding. It's great because you can do it almost anywhere. A lot of people use it in the field, like if you're in an oil rig or in a farm and your tractor breaks down, you can just go out in the field and stick weld. All you need is a 110 volt generator. And then MIG and flux core is what I do. And it's kind of like using a hot glue gun, except it's metal. And then TIG welding, which I think stands for total inert gas welding, is that used on aluminum and stainless steel mainly?
Yeah, it stands for tungsten inert gas.
Oh, there we go.
It's like an accurate version of welding. So like if you were to take all those other methods and just kind of distill them down to the pure essence of welding, it's exactly what TIG welding is. And people use it to weld stainless steel, like you're saying, aluminum. But I also for mine, I just use mild steel, and it works fine on mild steel as well. But it's a very clean weld, and it's a very pretty weld.
Yes, and there's a extra level of skill involved with that, because it's two-handed welding. You have a filler stick in addition to the what people call the gun or the pistol, applying the wire, I believe.
Yeah, so you have this little, I can't remember what they call it, like a wand or like a torch. Maybe they call it a torch. And then you're feeding the filler rod in, and you're kind of doing this little dance, and you're trying to keep the right distance. And it's like just like painting, it's 90% preparation to get everything in the right position, and then you kind of weld it. And it was fun. I learned how to do it, and so I went through that process of welding it and painting it.
Wait, did you make any mistakes?
Like when I was building it?
Yeah.
So I don't know. You probably have dealt with this before, but like, when you heat metal up and then it cools, it kind of bends. And so you have to account for that when you're welding things together and tacking it. And if you don't do it in the right order, it'll kind of twist. And so mine twisted like 3 millimeters. That was enough that my measured parts were now 3 millimeters too far apart. And you have to like bridge the gap a little bit or bend it back. In my case, the frame was still straight. It was just a couple of pieces had like, for the box, had twisted out. And I like now from YouTube University, I know of like tricks to bend it back without even welding. You just kind of heat up the other side and it'll shrink back together. But,
sweet. Did you use like an off the shelf power unit, like for the e-bike part?
Yeah, that was fun too. I had to like research what I wanted to use. This was, 3.5 years ago. And back then, like the best thing to use for a DIY bike was called a Bafang. And I think they still make them, but
yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
You just go on eBay, you buy a Bafang motor drive, and I bought a pretty big one. I got like an 800 watt Bafang, and then I bought a battery from eBay as well. Just making sure they all worked, and it worked great. Like the controller was great. Like it doesn't have the pedal feedback like the nicer bikes do, where you push harder and it goes harder, but I don't really need that.
Are you still riding this bike, or did you move over to something else?
No, I still use it multiple times a week to ride my dog to work. it's kind of fun the reactions people get when they see a dog on a bike. They love it.
Oh, they
Like,
freaking love it.
they,
Yeah. There's some people around me that have the dog in a basket in the front,
that's even cuter.
yeah, Labradors won't fit in there. I love what I never thought about with the front cargo bike, because I see people that have children in them or their groceries. I see restaurant chefs ride them to a farmer's market. But I didn't even think about the low center of gravity, that is so much better than trying to put cargo on the back above the back wheel, which makes your bike tippy,
Yeah, it's so much more stable. I can go fast on it. It's a little bit of a longer turning radius, but that's not a big deal in the end. And it's like the best way to get around the city. I don't know. That's like another thing we could talk about too. Is just spending 20 minutes talking about biking in the city. But,
a bikeable city.
It's so nice. Like Seattle is very bikeable now. There's bike lanes everywhere. There's like areas where you can just easily navigate the entire city without kind of getting close to a car. And there's like bike lanes that are protected. So it's very unlikely that a bike is going to get hit by a car. It's just a fun way to get around the city. And with traffic, it's the fastest way as well.
Yeah. So go ahead, Nicole.
Do a lot of kids ride their bikes to school too, or is it just adults?
Not many kids. I think maybe in middle school there are. Yeah, in middle school, I think, because that's when they're more independent and they can get around. So like, I think for sure in middle school, there's a lot of bikes and like the bike racks are full. But in high school, it drops off. I think people start taking the bus and driving.
Yeah, I mean, like the boys would love to bike to school and I would love for them to bike to school, but there's like the route, it just isn't safe enough yet. Like they're talking about putting in a bike lane, but they haven't, and the people just drive.
And you don't have to have like every road converted to bike lane. Really what happens is people get used to driving with bikes around and then it becomes safer for everyone. So just think of like once you hit a critical mass of bike lanes, it's much safer for everyone. Everyone just gets better at riding around bikes and working with bikes.
How's your new apartment, Eric? Is it bikeable where you are? Like what? Tell me about it.
Oh yeah, it's Park Slope is the Berkeley of Brooklyn, basically. So it's kind of funny because when I was in Sunset Park where everyone owns a car, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm going to move back to the Slope, and they're like, oh, you're never going to get a parking spot. And it is actually easier to get a parking spot there because people don't use their cars or they don't own them on purpose. But it's a much more bike-friendly area than the previous neighborhood I lived in. The stores I go to, the food co-op, and well, that's really all I go is a food co-op, is so close to me that I don't use my bike anymore. So I brought it up here to Connecticut.
Oh, really? Wow. You're like no Costco runs anymore.
No, I don't need Costco anymore. I have the Magic Park Slope Food Co-op, which you can look up online, and it's a lot of people like to make fun of it, but it has 16,000 members, and it's pretty amazing.
That is amazing. Montana, don't you guys have food co-ops?
Yeah, I'm always like wondering how they work. Like, is it like owned by the shoppers? Like, how does it? I don't know. We have a couple of co-ops, and they're fun.
It depends on how it's set up, but it depends on the state and the co-op laws. But it's usually a nonprofit corp or a cooperative that is owned by the members. And when you join, at least the Park Slope Food Co-op, you give them $100 and you become I don't know if you own stock or what, but there's some kind of language where you're a member owner. Okay. And then when you leave, you get that $100 back. And they have a general meeting once a month where they vote on kind of the tougher issues, but the general coordinators who are hired by a committee are tasked with running the food co-op, and they are generally left alone to go do that. And then, I mean, right now there's a concern between stocking products from certain countries in the Middle East right now, let's just say, and what's going on in the Middle East. So, and then it ends up that actually the food co-op doesn't really stock many products from those countries, but still that's the kind of thing that comes up. And that's discussed at the general meeting. But it's been running for 50 years now, I think.
Yeah, I think we have one called PCC, which is a community market, and I think it's a co-op as well. And they have like the best fruit, and they have policies that are fun. Like if you bring your children in, each child can have a piece of fruit, any piece of fruit for free. There's like kind of great community, engagement as well. But I think they've had like hard times managing some of their like staying profitable. Well, not profitable, but like breaking even, I guess.
Yeah,
that's what we say. I think it's a hard environment to be in the grocery business these days, like with mega groceries and stuff.
Well, the beauty of the food co-op is that it's Brooklyn, so you really can't get large grocery stores into the neighborhood. So, hey, I bet you're thinking Eric's going to ask me to shop on Amazon, right? Wrong. I'm going to ask you to buy one of Nicole's books. She is an author, photographer, and just dynamo for Garden Fork, right? And she has a book called Tilting, and I'm going to read a little intro about it here. It's a Wishing Shelf Award Gold winner. Pretty cool, huh? I don't have a gold award from the Wishing Shelf. Here's a little description. We only learned about our father's girlfriend after he became deathly ill, lay in a coma 120 miles from our home. Overhearing the nurse tell Linda, since I was 9, I'd call my mom by her first name, about the girlfriend who came in almost every day to visit him when we weren't there, confirmed that the last moment of normal had passed us by without our realizing it. Up to then, our family had unhappily coexisted with Dad flying jumbo jets to Asia while we lived in Montana. We finally came together to see Dad through his illness, but he was once again absent from a major family event, unable to join us from his comatose state. This is the moment when our normal existence tilted. Dad recovered, but the marriage ailed, as did Linda with cancer. Our family began to move down an entirely different path with silver linings we wouldn't see for many years. In this candid and compassionate memoir, Nicole Harkin describes with an impressionist fine eye the evolution of a family that is quirky, independent, uniquely supportive, peculiarly loving, and most of all, marvelously human. So yeah, it's called Tilting. If you type in Tilting Nicole Harkin into bookshop.org or any of those online places, Bookshop is a really cool place. You can order a book from your local bookstore through Bookshop. It's very neat. Anyway, Tilting, a memoir by Nicole Harkin. Go check that out. There's a section here called Hobby and Careers, Montana, that you wanted to talk about.
Oh, like, I turned 40 this year. So like,
yay.
It's, you start thinking about like, what am I spending my time on? And like, do I enjoy my work anymore? And, you start thinking about like, well, what do I do with my time? Right. I've got time. My kids are old enough to like manage a lot of their own, work now. It's like, okay, where do I start investing my time? Is it like hobbies? Is it in the community? Is it into my job more? Which is probably like, ugh. But like, I don't know, the idea of like investing more in my community is very interesting, and like kind of exploring which hobbies I enjoy the most, and just kind of, I don't know, get your guys' opinion about that. Kind of, you guys have gone through 40. I don't know if you've had this thought
I went
process.
Through 40. I think it's good that you're thinking about it, because I know a lot of people get to my age. There's 10 years between us, and they have forgotten about their hobbies because they decided to just do more work, and then their children are like doing their own thing, and they don't really know what to do with themselves. Like, I have a number of friends who have lost all of their hobbies and all of their outside interests, and I do think it ends up leading to feeling a little empty.
Yeah, I would say I like the whole thing about helping out in a community, but a community doesn't have to be your physical neighborhood. It could be online as well. Like I was speaking with one of my friends who is quite wealthy, and he's like, well, what are you doing these days, Eric? I said, I run the YouTube channel. And he's like, how do you make money on that? I'm like, well, I make money. I said, but the bigger thing for me is helping people. And I told him a couple stories, about how people's lives have been affected by me just kind of giving them permission to go do something that they didn't think they could do. And, you could do that as well because you've built a bike. You could make a video about an improved bike or your kind of dream bike and document that.
Mm-hmm.
And you could make videos or not make videos. Some videos are just like they turn the GoPro on that they don't even talk. They just make the thing and they go, okay, you can get the plans on my site or whatever.
So those are some of my favorites, just like silent video.
And the other flip side, my stepmother-in-law was very successful in the medical field, and she retired, and now she volunteers at the hospital near their home 3 days a week. And it's a nonprofit hospital, and she's just kind of paying back from where she was. And so that you can either be boots on the ground or you can have your boots in the internets.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing that Montana's into, which I love, are the Volkswagen buses. And
nice.
He went down to the Volkswagen bus store, which I love that there's a store in Seattle for Volkswagen parts. And they were like, "Hey, we see you helping out a lot on the chats. Would you like a job?" but that's definitely something. You're totally into the vans. You can totally help people. You've already helped people.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm on a lot of communities online where you just advice or
right.
And the Volkswagen communities. I don't know if you have a Volkswagen ever, but it's very friendly and people are always sharing and they're very generous with their information and their time.
Yes. I've owned 7 Volkswagen Bugs.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, you know, there's this guy on YouTube called Musty. I don't know if you've seen his videos. You must have if you're into bugs. And he's just great too, where he just kind of turns on the camera and just kind of shares his knowledge. And I think that's a good example of the environment I like with kind of these Volkswagens. So I have a Vanagon. I'm in the Vanagon group.
Oh, okay, that one. Yeah. Yes,
I don't have a bug.
I saw a recent advertisement online for retrofitted Volkswagen buses with they put electric motors in them.
Oh yeah, that's a company over here that's doing that with Tesla swaps.
Yeah, it's
small
$100,000.
Performance. Yeah, it's not cheap. Yeah, that's what I would say.
It looks beautiful.
That's something you could DIY though, for sure, and be fun. I thought about doing that.
Well, you put the engine in Falcor, right?
Yeah, I have done an engine swap in one of my other vans. I put a Subaru in my tin top. And
oh, wow.
That was really fun. Yeah. But again, it's just a lot of research. And then once you have all the information, it's kind of easy. You just I did it in 2 weekends. It wasn't bad.
Because the Subaru engine is a Boxster style like the Volkswagen. Mm-hmm. In other words, we're talking about an engine that has the piston and cylinders are on the sides of the engine block. And the Subaru is essentially a water-cooled, jacketed Volkswagen engine, I think.
Yeah, they're horizontally opposed engines, and they're made to kind of fit in this low-profile, low center of gravity area. And you can just kind of swap it out. And people make a little kit to adapt it, and you can use the same transmission, and all of a sudden it's a fun car to drive again. Versus a underpowered car.
Yeah, like you could go up hills.
Yeah, you can go up hills. Yeah.
I've always wanted a Volkswagen Bug. The first car that I actually bought was a Jetta, and Montana drove that for a year when I was overseas. I loved that Jetta.
I love that Jetta. Yeah.
Jetta was great. But this guy I worked with at a gas station years ago. He totally had me convinced that the Volkswagen Beetle was the best car ever made because it was so modular. And if something broke, you could just change it out with a new one. And there were so many of them on the road that it was easy to find them. But I never actually got to get one.
That's okay. There's a thing here called the cat genie, and I don't know what that is.
Do you have a cat?
No.
The cat
okay.
genie.
Nicole doesn't have a cat either, so she doesn't know about the cat genie, but this is just a PSA for anyone who has a cat. You start to hate life because you have to clean the litter box basically every day, or it's a giant mess. And this is just a litter box. It's just an automated litter box, except it's different than the ones that have litter in them in that it washes the granules and flushes them down the drain whenever the cat goes to the bathroom.
Wait, it's on the toilet?
It's not on the toilet. It's next to the toilet, and it hooks into the drain. Life changing. So you just add some cleaning solution and some pebbles every once in a while, and it's like a toilet for the cats. If you have not tried this.
This is crazy. I've never heard of this thing.
Yeah, it's that's why everyone needs to learn about it. It's just amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
You can put this in your Amazon.
I'll link to this with my Amazon link.
Yes, please.
They're not cheap.
Oh my.
If I was going to get one, I would get one used on Craigslist.
I don't know, Montana. There are like some things you don't buy used. Underwear.
I'm just saying.
Genies.
I bought mine new, but it was like so much I like questioned it, but I hated cleaning the litter box so much that I bought it, and it's been great.
Now, have you considered putting it in all the bathrooms, or is it only in one bathroom?
It's just in one. The cat.
Okay.
The cats know where to go. They're smart. Smartish.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's an expensive thing, but if it saves you time going forward, it's a multiplier. It's a time saver,
Exactly. That's how I see it, and it's like quality of life too. I hate cleaning litter boxes. I've had cats my entire life, and I'm done with it.
Okay, I really can't talk to you guys anymore. I've got to watch these videos
of the machine running. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yes.
Well, the last topic for today, because there's a ton of topics here, so Montana can come back and we'll talk more. But is the garage organization, which I am just a hot mess about.
I know, like I have the want. I'm the same way. Like I want to have a clean garage, but then I use my garage.
Yeah. So
it turns into like a giant mess. And then, there's this like spring cleaning where I go through and reorganize it. And, it's just, I would love any tips you guys have about keeping your garage clean. I don't know, Nicole, do you have tips too?
Man, I mean, Dad, he did the same thing. Every spring we'd be out there. Was it Labor Day? Yeah, no, it was. I guess that would be the fall cleaning.
Memorial Day.
We'd have to be out there like putting it all away on the bench. I mean, there's so many YouTube videos where people have like outlines of every. They put up a pegboard, they put up all the items, and they do outlines of them so you know exactly where the hammer goes and exactly. But that doesn't work for me. And honestly, if I can't see something, it doesn't really exist to me anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to keep it organized. And like the tool chest is like maybe the toolbox is another thing you could dive into, like organizing a toolbox. What's the best way? I don't know.
I have a couple of videos about a rolling tool cart, which I love. I own 3 of them.
Oh, you're the guy to talk to.
They're all in different places. But I think the key thing is first to do with less. And I made the top of my rolling tool cart also a workspace. I put a piece of butcher block I had and a vise on there. And the other thing is I took apart I bought a Sears Craftsman socket set, which folds out, folds open. And I pulled the hinge out, which is a plastic, and I pulled the metal pin out of the plastic hinge, and I just slid the 2 pieces of the socket set into separate drawers. And that was a game changer because the sockets just stayed where they belonged, and I'm not good at, I'm going to draw this pegboard thing. So I also just downsized a lot of the tools because I realize I don't need them all.
I feel like I'm at the point in my life where I need to go and, Marie Kondo the things that I have and say, do I use this? Is this something that I could just go get easily and just start giving things away?
Yeah, when Eric and Montana, you guys were on separate texts, but there for the play-by-play of me repairing the toilet the other week. Oh. And I had to buy this gigantic wrench. I don't think I'll ever use it. Well, I mean, I'll probably use it again to fix the toilet. But I mean, it was really big. And I was like, I said to the guy at Home Depot, I was like, there's nothing else, huh? There's no other solution. He was like, well, ma'am, do you not know how to use it? And I was like, I know how to use it. I know how to use it.
Was it a channel lock you bought or?
Yeah, a big channel lock.
But like the tool library, I think is a great solution to this. And I think every city needs like a tool library to solve this problem.
LA has it. Does Brooklyn have the tool library?
No, they have a fabulous library system, but they don't. They have a podcast studio that you can rent.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a lot of media creation services there, which are really nice. The problem is I am the go-to person for the tools.
You're the library. You are the library.
People call me this. They just say, "Do you have this tool?" I'm like, maybe, probably. Yeah.
Yes.
I also put my name on all my tools. I use one of those $10 engravers from Harbor Freight.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
And I engrave each socket, from your socket set. And my friends were like, what are you doing? I'm like, you're going to borrow this and not bring it back,
Oh my God. Well, did you get your socket back?
Yes. The other thing I did was my Sawzall, I mean, we're reciprocating saw, which I don't use very often, was starting to die. So I went to Harbor Freight and they have like the $27 one, which was actually better than the one I owned and was breaking. But I went over to their open box shelf, which is usually in the back corner of the store. And they had the $27 Sawzall that had been opened, and it was all there. I looked at it, and it was $19. So I have a Sawzall for $19, and I'm really happy with that.
The open boxes, I've totally been using that tip at when I make my purchases at Amazon. Because you mentioned that there's the warehouse or something.
Amazon Renewed.
Yes.
Or Amazon it's all the same stuff. What did I just order from there? And I'm like, this is a brand new, whatever it was. I don't know. But anyway, and Harbor Freight, there's a guy called DIY Pro on YouTube who he talks a lot about welding, but also just reviews tools from Harbor Freight. And the quality of their tools is improving markedly. And, it's like at the level, I think, of Lowe's or Home Depot as far as the Lowe's brand of tools, which I can't remember what they're called, but they're kind of blue in color.
Yeah, they used to be like low quality Chinese like knockoffs of everything. And they really raised the bar on themselves, I think, to say, okay, well, maybe we can do a little better and more people will come to us.
Well, they also had a number of recalls that were scary with the
Yeah, that's true. Maybe they learned a lesson. They're like, okay, well, we can't.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, I mean, I'm willing to pay more for a quality thing. I don't know.
They have a flux core welder. It's an AC welder, which means it's kind of not the greatest, but it's like $89 now. So if you just want to learn welding and you want a welder that you can break and it's okay, it's pretty neat. It'll weld it.
Yeah, I'd recommend that. That's what I learned on too. And it's a great way to get started, actually.
Yeah, I learned on that. I fixed my lawnmower. I fixed my neighbor's lawnmower. I fixed some other stuff. And then I wanted to upgrade and I just gave it to a friend of mine and because he wanted to learn how to weld. So it was perfect. It's perfect. Wow. We're at the 30-minute mark here. We've barely gone through the list.
I know. This was great, sorry. Montana. Thanks.
There's too much.
Well,
this has been great. I really love it.
We're not done. You still have to talk to us on the after show. I love that Nicole got this all together because I was looking forward to this, and it was just kind of fun to sit in my basement and do this. If you guys wanted to hear more of Montana and I and Nicole, we're going to do the after show, which is what we do for the patrons of Garden Fork Radio. If you're interested in that, there's a link below. I ask for a cup of coffee a month, and you get in return pictures of my Labradors, sometimes posts every 10 minutes about a project I'm working on, sometimes why I'm cranky about something, and announcements about new videos and Eric's brain dump. Sometimes I just walk around the city and talk into the phone, and I post it on Patreon. I think I did that last week, actually. So
yeah, it was great.
And that'll show up in your podcast. If you put it in your podcast app, it'll show up as a podcast. So that's fun. Anyway, but we're going to stick around. But if you have any thoughts about what we've talked about, please send me an email. It's radio@gardenfork.tv. All right, Montana and Nicole, you stick around. Everyone else, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Garden Fork Radio is produced by Garden Fork Media, LLC in Brooklyn, New York. The music in the show is licensed from audioblocks.com and uniquetracks.com.